Welcome back. You're listening to the Flow Sports Hour on Flow FM. Aislin Jones is on the show. Aislin made history as Australia's youngest ever Olympic shooter when she was just 16 years old at the Rio 2016 Olympics. And she's hoping to be there again at Paris in 2024. Aislin, thank you very much for joining me. It's great to have you on the show. How are you?
Good, thanks. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. It's, like I said, really great to have you here. Always good to have someone at the very top of the game. And you won the women's skeet event at the Oceania Championships just recently in Brisbane, and that's put you one step closer to Olympic qualification again. So you must be really excited.
Yeah, that was sort of like step one in the journey. So it was good to tick that off and get a quota place for Australia and then sort of have a break and focus on selections next year.
Great. So can you just run us through the process quickly of Olympic selection? Because obviously winning that event is not quite enough to put you in. So, yeah, what are the next steps now?
Yeah, so we start our Olympic selection trial events that run from, there's 4 domestic events that run from January till March, starting with our nationals, which are back in Brisbane. And then we have an additional 2 international events that sort of come up with a total point score, and then the top ranked athlete at the end will go to the Olympics.
Okay, very good. And how was the event in Brisbane? Have we had anyone from the Aussie team qualify for the Olympics just yet, or is everyone who did well at that event pretty much in the same boat as you now?
Yeah, so it's pretty much across the board. We're all in the same boat. That event was to secure as many quota places as we can for the Australian team, and then we all go through this selection process early next year.
Okay, exciting times, and the Olympics aren't too far away, so I'm sure you're getting equal parts excited and nervous for the rest of the qualification process. So I've got a 2-part question for you. Firstly, how do you get into shooting as a sport? And secondly, how do you get so damn good at it that you're going to the Olympics as a 16-year-old?
Yeah, it's sort of, a bit unusual, I guess. It's clay target shooting is not really one of the sports that you get to try at high school. So I was fortunate to have been introduced to the sport by my dad when I was 12. And he sort of just did it socially at a club level, and I kind of tagged along and then was asked if I wanted to give it a go. And I did. And I'm so glad that I did because it's allowed me to travel the world and visit, I think, compete in 16 different countries by the time I'm 23. But the first 4 years went by in a bit of a blur, and I was fortunate to have made an Olympic team at 16. I couldn't have done that obviously without the support of my family, allowing me to sort of grab every opportunity that came my way, and a fantastic coach and support system.
Well, obviously you were a natural at it, giving it a go for the first time at 12 years old, and it's a great endorsement for any listeners out there to get out there and try your hand at sport. You never know what you might be a natural at and, what you might be able to find yourself at the Olympics at. And it must have been a real honour. You were the youngest ever shooter at the Olympics for Australia, I think. But what was it like being the baby of pretty much the entire Australian Olympic team?
Yeah, it was sort of, looking back on it now, is sort of different to when I was there. I kind of just soaked in the whole experience when I was there in 2016, and I was doing year 10 at Naval College in Bairnsdale at the time, and I just remember all of my friends being like, "Oh, did you get to meet any of the swimmers?" And I was like, "Yeah, I did." But no, it was a really cool experience. We had another young gun at the time, Mitch Isles, who was only a little bit older than me. So we were sort of the 2 kids on the team as such. But it was really cool. One of my favourite experiences was I got asked to actually walk out in the front row of the Australian Olympic team at the opening ceremony. So Mum and Dad made sure they could see me on the TV because I was up there at the front with Jessica Fox, and Anna Mears was the flag bearer, and she's now the chef de mission for Paris. So it's kind of crazy when you think about it, but it was just, totally surreal.
Yeah, I bet it was. That's amazing to be able to rub shoulders with the world's best athletes like that and Australia's best athletes. And you sort of led me into something else I wanted to ask there. And be honest, were there any fangirl sort of moments as you were, rubbing shoulders with the best athletes in the world and being one of them yourself?
I wouldn't say there was any fangirl moments, but it was it was one of those things where, like, I don't know, you walk into the dining hall with all of these elite athletes from around the world, and like I just felt like, yeah, a bit of a kid, kind of out of my depth. But yeah, it was crazy just to meet so many different people, and we're all there doing the same thing. Like, we're all at the top of our game, like in our individual events, which is pretty cool.
Well, you certainly were a kid, but you definitely weren't out of your depth. It sounds like you certainly belonged among all of those athletes. I want to just ask you a bit more about the qualification event, the Oceania Championships in Brisbane. Obviously, a lot of our shooters have now been going through this first part of selection for the Olympic qualification. And what do you think the team is shaping up as looking like? Not necessarily in terms of who you think might get those spots for Paris, but do you think we're looking like taking a strong team over to Paris and competing for a few medals?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I think whoever gets picked to go at the end of the day, like, because of our selection process, will be the people that deserve to be there. And I think nobody can argue with that. And like the fact that we have in women's trap particularly, like, we've got three of sort of the top women in the world at the minute, which will be competing for 2 spots. So, like, whoever we send at the end of the day, I think it'll be like a really competitive team, which is exciting for shooting.
Yeah, it's very exciting. I couldn't agree more. When you compete, and especially at major tournaments, what's the preparation like? Because I imagine your prep is vastly different to that of, say, a marathon runner or a swimmer or a basketball player. So, yeah, is it a lot of mental preparation rather than physical?
Yeah, it's a bit of both. It's funny, in shooting you probably find that across the team, like, we all have very different ways to prepare for events. Like, most of us are juggling either part-time or full-time jobs, as well as shooting, and then I'm studying as well. So, like, it's sort of a constant juggling act, I guess. And then leading into an event, shooting's got to become more of the priority, and the other things drop back, and then you come back and do it all again. But yeah, like, we all have our team of people around us, whether that's physio, strength and conditioning psychologists, nutritionists, and everybody uses different people to some degree or another. And I think it's important, like, all of the athletes at the top know what works for them in terms of their preparation, and that's sort of what we all do.
You mentioned you're working and studying as well as doing all this, and obviously you're no stranger to having a busy schedule, having been doing Olympic preparation when you were quite literally in the 10th grade, which is just remarkable. What's it like being involved in a sport where you do have to live that lifestyle where you can't dedicate every minute of every day to your craft? You have to be out working and studying and committing your time to a lot of other things as well.
Yeah, I think for me personally, and like, we're really lucky with shooting. It's one of those sports where we can continue doing it for, if we want to, 5 or 6 Olympic Games. Like, the bronze medalist in Tokyo in the men's skeet event was 58. So, like, age really isn't a barrier until your eyesight starts to go. But because of that longevity in the sport, I think we get the unique opportunity to build our career alongside our sport and not sort of wait to retire and then go, oh, what next? We can kind of focus on career and shooting as well, or at least for me anyway, that's kind of my plan. And I think it helps to have that kind of healthy balance. Like, shooting is not sort of 100% of my life. And I think that allows me to enjoy it a little bit more because, yeah, I'm not doing it every waking second of every day. So I've got other things to focus on, which, yeah, for me is a better mindset to be in when I go into competitions.
Yeah, that's really great to hear. It's certainly a different attitude than what you hear from, a footy player or a basketball player who sort of knows they maybe only have 10 years playing at the top level before their body might start to let them down. How do you go being involved in a sport which is maybe not quite on the radar for a lot of Aussie sports fans, and certainly not heavily on the government's radar in terms of securing funding for increasing infrastructure and things like that? I guess that must be a real challenge for you and your community.
Yeah, funding is definitely hard. I think it probably has its upsides and its downsides to not being in a mainstream sport. I think, depending on the person, but not being in the limelight maybe all the time is probably not a bad thing. I don't know how that would feel. I've never been in a position like that, but I guess the downside of that is the less funding and support because it's not a mainstream sport. I was really, really fortunate that growing up in a small town, like when I was competing in Rio, I was able to get a few small businesses that got behind me and were incredibly supportive, which took a little bit of financial pressure off mum and dad at the time. It's not doing any sport at an elite level is not cheap, is a huge financial commitment. So I guess, being in a country area, that was like a plus side for me where we didn't necessarily get the funding that maybe, or nowhere near the funding that swimming would get. But I was lucky that I had some small town support and then not have to deal with the pressure, I guess, of being in the limelight all the time.
And how do you go with giving back to your communities that have helped you get to this level? Because obviously money and funding is a factor, and it's pretty easy for footy players making, close to $1 million a year to go and give back to their local clubs. But how do you approach that?
Yeah, I mean, now that sort of I'm like a little bit older and a little bit more financially secure, I still have to chase sort of support for training and travel costs and stuff like that because that kind of continues. But I guess I try and give back in other ways. I've been a part of a couple of come and try days for juniors, particularly like the Gippsland Sports Academy and stuff like that. Sort of going back to grassroots kind of thing, and help sort of coach and I guess pave a pathway. If kids have seen somebody else can do it, they think, well, maybe so can I. And I think, sort of having that image and giving back with a bit of support and coaching where I can feels really good too, because it's I was that age doing that not that long ago. And then I do the odd school talk sort of here and there, which I really enjoy doing because a lot of them haven't heard of clay target shooting before, so it's nice to talk about something different. And then the other weekend I actually did a fun run in my town that I live in now, Leongatha, which was run by DF Fitness and raising money for keeping kids in local sports. So that was a fundraising thing that was pretty close to my heart and was really cool to be a part of.
Yeah, great. Always good to hear when one of our Aussie athletes is giving back to their community, and it's great that so many are really, really good at doing that. And of course, it's certainly not all about giving back financially. Giving time and giving back, especially to the kids, is one of the best things you can do, really. What would you say to people who do want to get involved in shooting? Is there an easy way to go about it? Obviously, there's probably not as many shooting clubs around the place as there are, footy clubs and cricket clubs. But what would your advice be to people that do want to get involved?
Yeah, I would probably Google your nearest clay target club or field and game, and usually there'll be somebody, an email or a phone number that you can contact. And if they don't have the information on their website, I'd give them a ring and just say, hey, do you have any practice days that a non-licensed shooter can just come and have a go? And you don't have to have a license to come and try. Usually clubs will have a gun that you can borrow and use with supervision to just have a crack and see if you like it. You might be surprised when you break your first clay target. It can be quite fun and addictive to just see it disintegrate and want to do more. So, you just never know what you might be good at. And all of the communities are really supportive and keen to sort of get new people into the sport. It doesn't matter what age you are, young or older. It's a great way to be social and compete against men and women of all ages on a level playing field.
Well, I've never given it a go myself, but I can imagine that first time smashing a target would be, quite a thrill. And you're right, that sounds like it would be very addictive. So I might have to give it a go at some point. Ashton, what are you doing? You said you're working and you're studying. What are you doing in your downtime? Obviously, between working, studying, and training for the Olympics, that must take up a lot of your time. But do you get much time just to chill out?
I try and have little moments here and there. My sort of I guess my mental break at the moment is I have a 2-year-old Labrador and we go running on the rail trail, and running's kind of my outlet, I guess, for my downtime. But yeah, my weekends fill up pretty quickly, whether it's catching up on uni and keeping up with work during the week. So I just, try and find time where I can. I probably don't spend enough time doing downtime. I'm one of those people that just kind of keeps going. But yeah, it's really important to have breaks and stuff like that. So yeah, I try and I like being at home. I don't like to go away when I've got downtime. I just want to be chilling at home.
No better way to chill out than with a big old doggo, especially a big Labrador. So love to hear that. That's fantastic. Well, Aislin, we better wrap things up and I'll let you get back to your doggo. But what's on the immediate horizon for you now? Obviously, a lot of training to try and lock in a spot for Paris, but do you have any more tournaments coming up leading to that, or is it all pretty much training really, really hard until you get a chance to lock in a spot?
So I'll have, because our Nationals and Olympic selection starts in January, I'll try and have a couple of weeks completely off now and just focus on other things. And then I'm going to New Zealand actually in a couple of weeks. For my partner also does clay target shooting, just in a different event. So I'll go and support him over in New Zealand for their nationals over there. And then as soon as I get back from there, I'll get back into training over December, Christmas, New Year's, and then fly up to Brisbane in January.
All right, very exciting things for you on the horizon, Aislin. Thank you very much for coming on the show today. It's been a pleasure talking to you. You're welcome back anytime, and we here at Flow FM will be wishing you all the best in your quest to get back to the Olympics.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.